Creativity is born as a response to a world where a resource is scarce. So back when I was an architect, it was actually the projects with constraints that I preferred working on. When you have a project with no constraints that you could literally do anything with, that is torture, because you could do anything. And so everything you think of, I could do that, and it's very, very difficult to move forward because there's just too much choice. And it's not just me either. So Frank Gehry says that one of his greatest architectural challenges was designing a house with no constraints. When beginning BestSelf, our resources were extremely limited. So outside of the initial Kickstarter campaign, we were funding everything through sales. And this forced us to be resourceful, to be creative with every single dollar we had, because there wasn't an endless supply. Our constraints were we only had so much money. So it forced us to think differently than maybe we would have if we were venture funded or something like that. One of my favorite examples of this was Dr. Seuss. So Dr. Seuss took a bet from his publisher that he couldn't write another successful children's book using only 50 words. So his constraint was the different words he could use. So after a year of work, Green Eggs and Ham was released and would become the best-selling Dr. Seuss book of all time. New parents often realize how much more productive and efficient they are at work than before they had kids, because now they have a living, breathing constraint constraining their time, and so they have to fit in more into less time, which they're able to do because they're forced to. So here's some ways to create your own restraints. For productivity, sometimes I go and work from a coffee shop and I won't bring my laptop charger with me, because this forces me to be more efficient, to stick to the task at hand, because once that battery is done, I am done working. And so that is my way to force myself to stick to the task. Budget constraints. So if you've ever been broke, which I have you ever tried to plan a great date that costs no more than 20 bucks? Because that is a great way to start thinking creatively. Time constraints. So I heard a friend talking about this concept of having a ticket. This simply means making plans that force you to stop working. So Parkinson's law says that work expands to fill the time available. And so when we create a constraint like a dinner or a lunch or a concert, we have to get our work done by that time because we have to leave. So we've all had those days where we have total freedom, we have nothing in the evening, and somehow our whole day goes by and we didn't get that much done because we had no constraints. So create some restraints for yourself to force yourself to get more done. Then there's also resource constraints. So when I think back to how I grew up, so I spent summers growing up in this small town in Donegal. Our house had no phone, no internet, no video games. The TV barely functioned. Even when it did, it had like 3 channels and one of them was in pure Irish, so I didn't really understand most of it. So we were completely limited with entertainment resources, but we were abundant in our imagination, and the intricate games that we would make up with nothing more than a tennis ball was pretty incredible, and something that I think back on, or I have great memories around it because I didn't have any other choices. So I wasn't choosing to play with a tennis ball, that was the only option. So if you're trying to be creative, add some constraints to your life. Isn't it ironic that we think that we want a world of possibilities and so much choice, yet as humans, we do much better when we have some constraints, because as humans, we actually love to create and to be creative. So try adding some constraints in your life and see how you show up differently. If you think of any product, problem-solved, big company, often they started with some sort of constraint. They didn't have endless possibilities. They either were restrained for money, for time, for technology, whatever that was, they didn't have everything and they were able to create something much bigger than they even thought. Let me know in the comments below how you are either adding constraints to your life or you plan to, whether it's, less money, whether it's less time, whether it's how to be more productive. Share with me some constraint that you have in your life that's actually led to you being more creative. One quick thing that you do not need to add constraints to is liking, commenting, and subscribing on this YouTube channel.